Hi everyone, it's Sharon here, and I wanted to share some insight that I received recently. And it may be controversial to some, may not be. We'll find out. So, I've been pondering the nature of reality because in my own personal practice, I've been looking at different ways to build, if you want to say, build on my ability to now quiet my mind is quite easy. To be thoughtless is quite easy. When I sit down in silence, I can center on my central channel without any thought, without any distraction. And, that's a really lovely thing. But I've been sort of contemplating, if you like, um, kind of what happens next. And you will also know from previous videos that, I've been discussing choice point year and suffering versus awakening. And so all of this has been kind of on my mind because this is a very key year for spiritual growth and acceleration. So I was pondering the nature of existence, as always. And I had this very wonderful, very clear understanding come through. And I've had glimpses of this before. I've certainly read or heard people talk about certain concepts before, but this is the first time it really started to feel really true experientially. So I wanted to talk about that and make an offering of this in case it's of service to others. So we often talk in spiritual circles about, you could say, the creator, God, all that is, the oneness, and why it created the universe as we know it, the physical world as we know it, or the Big Bang, whichever way you want to come at this subject. And the way we tend to discuss it in spiritual circles is that the all, which is all, I tend to refer to it as all always, the oneness wanted, as it is everything. It is unlimited, it is infinite, and it is all things. um it cannot really experience itself, and so in order to experience itself, it created the universe as we know it. That's the general description. And I used to get that on a intellectual level, but I really started to see recently how actually this thing that we call experience, that has been created for us, and we are here to experience it. But there's, if you're like me, there is a craving to go beyond the world of experience. And that doesn't mean you leave it behind completely. It just means that you are free from the limitations of experience. And so this is what I want to talk about. So if they're allness, the infinity, everything that is, wants to experience itself, how can it do that? And I got to really see with quite a lot of clarity that the way that the allness, the oneness, was able to do that is to create limitation within itself. So, time is a limitation, space is a limitation. In the grand scheme of allness, oneness, infinity, space is a limitation, time is a limitation. The things we would call life and death are limitations. It gives us a sense of finiteness. The physical world has a finite nature to it. When we talk about God or source or oneness, whatever word you want to call it, it doesn't have a finite nature. It is infinite. It is always. It's the eternal now, whatever you want to say. There's many words. So this thing that we call life even is a limitation in order for us to have an experience. It is a construct. It is a creation. It is an illusion that was created so that the source could experience itself. And so in realizing that, we can kind of look at the world of experience with slightly different eyes. And we don't need to get so upset. We don't need to have so many emotions around it. The body, for example, it's a limitation. If you've ever meditated, like I have meditated and felt like my spine is really hindering hindering my ascension to higher realms, the body feels like a massive limitation, right? Sometimes the body is a limitation. The mind is definitely a limitation. Um, we could say that the earth is even a limitation. We're on this particular earth. Can we get off it? We've tried. We're not very good at it. um, all of these things are limits. And the limitation is what creates the experience. Without it, we wouldn't be able to have an experience. So, even something, and I've been talking about it, and many spiritual people have been talking about it, the idea of going from 3D to 5D to 6D to how many dimensional levels you want to go up. Even that is a construction. Even the fact that we say we have had past lives. How is that possible? It's only possible if you believe in time, right? You have a soul, comes round again and again. That is within the subject, the concept, the limitation of time. Even learning as a soul, we say, well, why are we here as a soul in the first place to experience? That too is a limitation because learning requires time, and time is a construct, it's a creation, it's an illusion. So many of the things that we really do take for granted as the basis of reality, we don't actually have to accept them as the basis of reality. And I know that there's a bit of a backlash in this kind of modern world we live in where people say, oh, I don't want to transcend the body. I want to experience the body. Oh, I love experience. Well, if you love experience, knock yourself out. But it's still a limitation. You are limiting yourself to the body. You are limiting yourself to a certain level of experience when you stay within the illusion. And so I've sometimes been asked, but what is the benefit of coming outside of the illusion? And it's if you're going to lose something if you come outside of the illusion, if you buy out of the limitation. And it's really not about losing any experience. You can still participate in experience. The only difference is you are no longer bound by it. You're no longer limited by it because you understand that it actually doesn't have a reality to it apart from what you give it. And what gives it the reality is your mind. So when we're talking about human ascension and we're talking about these other realities, it's really about letting go of the grip of the physical 3D dimensional world. And we're saying, hey, there's 5 dimensions, there's 6 dimensions, there's more dimensions. And actually, we don't want to be as bound by this fake illusion reality of just the 3D. And we want to go to higher understandings, or even let go of the most base understanding so that we can have a greater freedom within the experience. It's still within the experience, but it's a more freer form of experience. Now, can we actually step out of experience completely? Yes, really, that's enlightenment. But once we are enlightened, can we still experience? We can, just knowing it's an experience. And that's the difference. We can still have the wonder, the joy. In some, you could argue even greatly, even more so, just in awe of what has been created, but not bound by it, not held by it. The laws by which the 3D realm is supposedly we're bound by, we're no longer bound by it. And so it's a freedom that to move within the realms of experience in a different way. And that's what we're kind of sort of hoping for with the 3D, 4D, 5D, 6D and above. It's the idea that our experience can expand, but can you step out of experience? Yep, you can just step out of experience. That's the enlightenment that a lot of people are looking for. But then you come back in. And why would you come back in? To contribute, to play, to experience greater, knowing that it is an experience, knowing that it's an illusion, knowing that it's that you are not bound by it, but you can still enjoy it. And so this is kind of the, and I'm not saying that I've been able to completely come out of this experience myself. It's an ongoing process that I am working on. But I also read the Tao Te Ching recently as well, again, and it suddenly made perfect sense to me. And especially the first few lines. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The thing that can be named is not the eternal name. Because everything that we can think of, everything that we can conceive of is still within the world, it's still within the realm of experience. And anything in experience is a creation of the divine, and it is a limitation that has been created. And so we can't name it. You can't name it. You can't name the divine. We try with language to name everything and label everything and categorize it. And really, in spirituality, we kind of talk about moving from the mind to the heart. And part of that is we move from thinking to experience, right? But even experience, we can move away from experience. And that sounds almost insane to say it because language doesn't really allow for it, because it's outside the language. It's actually outside of experience. But this is a subject that have been really getting quite clear on. And part of the reason for that as well is that in the Invincibility membership, we've been talking about the nature of suffering and non-suffering, and the nature of non-attachment or detachment. And so in the next video, I want to talk very, very briefly about why we suffer, and our addiction to suffering, and how we come out of that.